Kim?
He's here.
He's here.
You want?
Let's give him a round of applause.
Hey!
That's fast.
That's fast. That's true. We do technically have some seconds. Well, albeit seconds before we should start, we will still get started. So, welcome to this Lehi Planning Commission on March 12th, 2026. I call this meeting to order, and we'll entertain a motion on the consent agenda.
Motion for item 2.1, motion being that we approve the minutes from the February 26, 2026 meeting.
Second. Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Oh, I did fail to mention we are excusing Commissioner Jackson tonight, who's not feeling well. We're excited to have Polo here with us, though.
Hello.
And, yeah, let's move on to the regular agenda.
Okay. Item 3.1 is public hearing and consideration of John Allred's request for approval of a conditional use for the conversion of an existing accessory building into a detached ADU located at 409 West, 900 North. Detached ADUs are permitted in the R2 zone and require a minimum lot size of 14,520 square feet. The detached accessory structure was constructed in 1980. Because the structure was constructed prior to 2021, a conditional use permit is required. The ADU exceeds the minimum 300 square foot requirement based on the size shown, and tenant parking will be in front of the unit and the driveway to ensure there is off-street parking. The ADU is set 12 feet back from the side yard property line, which provides an adequate setback. There were 4 red line comments from the DRC, including that the property boundaries need to be cleaned up, and to recommend checking with the title company on that. Conditional uses are administrative items. If they meet the code, they must be approved. The Planning Commission may place reasonable conditions on the use to mitigate against any potential negative impacts to neighbors. This is a public hearing item, but there were no online comments for this one, so I turn it back to the Commission for any questions.
Any questions for staff?
Just, I have a question. Is this the red roof, right? That's the ADU?
Yes.
And it looks really close to the house, so there's no requirement for distance between the 2 buildings?
Since this is a conversion of an existing structure, there isn't a requirement for that.
Okay.
If it were a new build, there would be.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions for staff? Is the applicant present? Yes. Please come on and share anything else you'd like to share with us, including your name.
John Allred. We just had it surveyed. I did send it to Kim and a couple others, but so the survey is done. We're going to take it now and do quitclaim deeds with the neighbors. And they've already agreed to me with the fence line. So we should be in good shape there. Anything else?
There was the concern of the cleaning of the property line. It sounds like you're working on that with the neighbor.
That's the survey, yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Anything else that you wanted to add?
We have 6 foot between the house and the garage, where the garage is going to be the ADU. Utilities will come from the west side of the house. We've got the gas, the sewer, and the electric. And it'll come around the side and then go straight into the ADU. So,
Any questions for the applicant? All right, I think you're scotch-free for a moment. Thank you. This is a public hearing. If anybody would like to speak to this item, you're invited to do so now. Please come up.
Do the microphones work here? I can't hear you back here.
Can you hear me better now? Sorry, I'll speak into the microphone. I apologize. This is a public hearing, though. If you wanted to speak to this item, you're invited to come up now.
I hope I got the right place, but I just wanted to find out this is gonna start at 1630 south, and it's gonna go 500 east. But how far back is it gonna go?
I'm not sure. Are you speaking to this item of the ADU? The accessory dwelling unit that we're talking about that's on the screen behind me?
I think he might be on the item down by Spring Creek Ranch.
That's what I'm talking about, because
Oh,
Yeah, that's a later item.
yeah, we're not to that item yet, but we will get there. Is there anybody else who would like to speak to this item? Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing and bring it back to the commission.
I don't have any concerns.
I'm gonna make a motion.
I'd love that.
All right, I'll move that we approve the proposed conditional use and site plan. Please include the DRC findings, and found that it's an existing building. The setbacks are great, and feel like it'll add to the neighborhood and help the family.
Second.
Motion.
There were quite a few DRC comments. Can we add
He
those?
did.
Did include the
That was my first.
Thank you. I
Started
totally
there.
missed it. Totally missed it.
Motion and a second with DRC comments included. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, you're good to go. Let's move on to 3.2.
So item 3.2 is public hearing and consideration of AWA Engineering's request for approval of a conditional use for a drive-through for the Golden West Credit Union located at 520 West Main Street. The drive-through is part of Phase 2 of the development and will be located on the northwest part of the property. The drive-through is expected to generate minimal additional traffic and is intended to provide safe vehicle stacking and efficient on-site circulation. A traffic study was reviewed, and it was found that the accesses will continue to operate at acceptable levels of service with the addition of the credit union. There were 7 red line comments from the DRC, primarily related to the overall site plan and not the drive-through, but please consider these in your motion. Conditional uses are administrative items. If they meet the code, they must be approved. This is a public hearing item, but there were no comments online, so turn it back to the commission for any questions.
Any questions for staff? For reference, this is the old Maverick station.
Yes, yeah, by the roundabout.
Any questions for staff?
Do we have any, Gary, do we have any concerns about like sight lines or anything like that coming out of the drive-through turning right onto Main Street?
That was actually something looked at by our traffic engineer before he left, and I think he was okay with the way it is right there.
Okay.
That was a concern that he had, though, and the position of the drive as it attaches onto Main Street there, but I think it's all okay the way they've got it designed.
Okay.
Good question, though.
Will there be any physical barrier preventing someone from turning left?
There will be.
There'll be a physical curb or
There's gonna be
something?
a curb or a median in the road there. It's just a little six-inch high one, but yeah, there will be.
All right, is the applicant present?
Good evening. My name is Rick Magnus with AWA Engineering, here on behalf of AWA. Go figure, right? We first of all, thanks to your staff for helping us through this little site that is, this is a tricky site, but having the drive-through up there in the northwest corner is just perfect for operations. It's perfect for traffic flow. And this gives us the opportunity to bring that building forward, which is required in the downtown overlay. So you see that the configuration works. To your question, the ride-in, ride-out, we moved that as far west on the property line so that we could have good spacing. I think you remember the user before, it was a little tricky sometimes. But with the roundabout, the flow, and the location, this is a great location for this ATM, and also there's another drive aisle that you actually are able to communicate with people in the office and get that transaction taken care of. So I'm here to concur with staff recommendations and then answer any questions that you may have.
Any questions for the applicant?
I have a question, if I may. I know it's not in the historical downtown area, but it's very close. Are you guys going to add anything that'll draw in that historical features that are already on Main Street?
So not with this application. However, with the application we had previously here to rezone it and that, we were required to kind of enhance each and every elevation of the building so that as you look down Main Street and, of course, come around heading west, you're going to see an enhanced building with features that are inviting. And, you know, Golden West appreciates this because there's a great sight line to see that building.
What do you mean by enhanced building?
It means that all four sides of the building are going to be treated with more than one material. So you're going to have diversity in material, also features of that, once again, allow that building to look interesting as you come down towards that roundabout.
Okay, thank you. But as far as like the brick that is used on Main Street or any of that, those kind of features, are you able to do that? I know we can't make you, but
so we were required. This is actually in an overlay, if you can believe it, that the property to the west of us is not in that overlay, but we are.
You are, yeah, okay.
So we are conforming to those design criteria on a building itself.
Awesome. It is a great, coming into that roundabout,
Yeah.
Of course, it's a big, tall roundabout, so you won't see it directly, but it'll be right there. Thank you.
Any other questions? All right, thank you.
I got a question.
Yes.
Sorry. So this area sees a lot of traffic, especially backed up traffic. On that 500 West, coming south, there's often traffic built up. Is there, in your traffic study, did you guys see a lot of concern turning left from Main Street? So you come around the roundabout, you turn right, and then you turn left into there. Is there anything that's blocking the traffic from turning left into there?
So if you're talking about the access onto Main Street?
No, talking about access from 500 West at the north end of the project.
So that was, we reviewed that and the traffic movement for that. The traffic engineer, your staff, and us, we determined that we would be able to make a left-hand turn into that access that's on 5th West. But as human nature knows, that if you're going to come around there isn't a lot of stacking areas, so you're not going to see that. What you'll see is people naturally coming through the roundabout, then just making a right into the property. That's the easy flow to do that. And then they would go through the parking area and then be able to turn left into that.
To the ATM. So we're not stacking into Main Street. We're going to go through the roundabout and turn right.
Yes,
okay.
Absolutely.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Good. Okay. I'm here if you have any other questions. Okay.
Thank you.
All right, this item is a public hearing. We invite anybody who would like to speak to this item to come up to the mic and do so now. Seeing none, we will close the public hearing and bring it back to the commission for further deliberation or a motion.
I feel good about it. I think it is kind of a tricky area, but I'm happy with it. All right. Okay. Item 3.2, public hearing consideration of AWA Engineering's request for approval of a conditional use for a drive-through for the Golden West Credit Union located at 520 West Main Street. The motion being that we approve the proposed conditional use and site plan, with the findings being that at the proposed location, the proposed use will improve the vicinity. It will be located and conducted in a manner in compliance with the goals and policies of the Lehi City General Plan and the purposes of the code. That the property which is being used, the building and the other structures as proposed, is of adequate size and dimensions to permit construction of the facilities and the conduct of the use in such a manner that it will not be detrimental to adjoining properties in the area. And please also lastly include DRC findings.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Item 3.3.
Item 3.3 is public hearing and consideration of Kylene Pace's request for conditional use approval to keep horses on 2.5 acres of property located at 3154 North, 4200 West. Chapter 12 of the Development Code allows residential zoning to have 2 horses per half acre. This property could have up to 10 horses on their property. The horses will be kept in a corral over 600 square feet in size. Because of that, there's actually no setback required, according to Chapter 12. The corral will be cleaned weekly to adhere to maintenance standards. The DRC had 2 red line comments, including to clarify how many animals the applicant is planning to have and what types of animals. But please consider all DRC comments in your motion. This is a conditional use, which are administrative items. If they meet the code, they must be approved. The Planning Commission may place reasonable conditions on the use to mitigate against any potential negative impacts to neighbors. This is a public hearing item. There were no online comments for this, so turn it back to the Commission for any questions.
Thank you. Any questions for staff? All right, seeing none, is the applicant present? Did you want to add anything else? You don't have to. You're not forced to. We're not trying to compel you.
Well, I can add the property right next to me that you can see on the, I guess you can see what I can see, yeah? Okay.
Sorry, first state your name, please.
Oh, Kylene Pace.
Thank you.
The property right next to me is zoned agriculture residential, and they have horses as well. And the community that's been approved through the concept plan to be built around there is an equestrian community.
I had a question for you.
Yeah, sure.
Do you know the number of animals you're going to keep?
No more than 6.
And they're all horses?
We're planning on horses. We might get a donkey, but planning on horses, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions for the applicant?
Okay.
All right. Thank you. This is a public hearing. If anybody would like to speak to this item, we'll open the public hearing now. Seeing none, we will close that public hearing and bring it back to the commission.
This is another one where I feel comfortable, where the allotment is 10 and the applicant has said they only plan on having 6. I think it's good.
That does not weigh into my decision there, but I agree. Like, even if they said they could have, they were planning for 10, that's what the code permits.
Right.
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 So.
And this is good in that I want to see more of this in Lehi. I like this.
I'd make a motion if you're ready. Okay. Item 3.3, public hearing and consideration of Kylene Pace's request for conditional use approval to keep horses on 2.5 acres of property located at 3154 North, 4200 West. I move that we approve with the findings that the proposed use will improve the vicinity, and it will be conducted in a manner in compliance with the goals and policies of the Lehi General Plan. Please include all DRC comments.
Second. Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. 3.4.
Item 3.4 is public hearing and consideration of Golden West Advertising's request for conditional use approval for a pylon sign for Smith's located at 3808 West Hardman Way. I did want to note there was an error in the staff report. The second pylon sign, the 25-foot one, is no longer being considered. It's just the 70-foot pylon sign that is up for discussion today. The 70-foot pylon sign requests an exception to the maximum 25-foot height requirement of pylon signs. This is in response to the future freeway of 2100 North. The Planning Commission will need to determine if a future freeway overpass is justification for the additional height. The additional square footage should also be considered for this reason. Currently, the pylon sign is 900 square feet and the maximum is 600. Again, this is in response to the future 2100 North Freeway. The DRC had 3 informational comments for the applicant, all of which the applicant has been made aware of, but please consider these in your motion. This is a conditional use. The Planning Commission may place reasonable conditions on the 70-foot pylon sign to mitigate against any potential negative impacts. Conditional uses are permitted and therefore must be approved with conditions if applicable. This is a public hearing item. There were 3 comments online for this, which I can share during the public comment period, but with that, I turn it back to the commission.
Katie, can I have you clarify that? This is a conditional ask, but it's outside of code, so we have full ability to say no.
So the sign ordinance states that that you can. There basically is an exception, like a bit of leeway up to 70 feet, but the applicant bears the burden of proof if that additional request is justified, and so that would be your determination.
Great, thank you. Any questions for staff?
Yeah, I want to ask a clarification. I think I understand, but I just want to make sure. In the report, it says the current square footage of the sign is 900 square feet, and the maximum is 600. Is what code says the maximum is 600? Is that what that means?
Yes, yeah, that is correct.
Okay, so they're asking for taller, bigger sign. Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Any other questions for staff?
In the shopping center that's going in the Smith's parking lot, how many other businesses are planning to go in there?
Yeah, there's the Smiths, and I believe there's either 5 or 6 additional parcels, essentially, but those buildings could be split up into more businesses. I don't have many details on that. The applicant might, but yeah.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Do we know what kind of signage the Primary Children's Hospital has, how tall their sign is?
Yes. I'm trying to remember off the top of my head. They do have a rather large pylon sign as well. However, the hospital is a bit unique in that it is exempt from our sign code just because it's considered a civic use or an institutional use because it's a hospital. But I believe their pylon sign is 70 feet as well. So.
Okay, thank you.
And we do have a 70-foot flagpole across the street at the Maverick.
We do, yes. Mm-hmm.
The car wash, yeah, over by there. Any other questions for staff? Is the applicant present?
Good evening. My name is Rick Magnus with AWA Engineering, here on behalf of the applicant as well as the developer, Smith's Marketplace. A few things about this particular sign, and to just help with the original write-up of the two monument pylon signs. We had received approval before on those. They're over there on like 3600 West. So what I'm here about is that pylon sign that is 70 feet in nature. I hope you had a chance to review some of the materials. Because of the overpass that is going to be located at this the 3600 West, there's going to be a 2100 North overpass here. And so what we tried to do is demonstrate why that additional height is needed, because once that goes in, you're going to lose a lot of the effectiveness of a regular height monument sign. It actually will be blocked because an overpass is approximately 30 feet from grade. So we took just a typical overpass and show what that's doing. Now, this particular view that's on your screen right now is looking south across 2100 on the opposite direction of traffic. So they're headed westbound, looking over there. So you see the side of the of the sign. If I may, do you have an opportunity to go to the other,
yes.
Some of the other slides just to give you? So this is, I'm heading east. I'm on 2100, and I am looking at the face of the sign, And this is at the, let's see, this is at the western edge of the property. So to your right, like where that little rectangle white area is, you can see the edge of the Smith's Marketplace. It's currently under construction. So I'm looking east. Something that also kind of is looming in this general vicinity are those power poles that absolutely go through our site, and that's where we have parking underneath. But you can see there's a little bit of competition also with some existing items that are there. And as was mentioned, in this kind of general area, you do have the flagpole that's also 70 feet tall, and we always want the flag to wave, but that can be a bit of the same elevation that you will have with this sign here. To answer the question about other businesses going in, we usually have a price changer on this particular sign. It doesn't flash, it stays steady, marking pricing for fuel. And that is for the fuel center that's also located on site. Then there are an additional 3 other businesses that will also be going on this particular site. I don't know who they are. Sorry, I can't disclose anything that I don't know. But we've identified 3 other locations for mostly restaurant type uses there. So with that, what the idea was to combine and use a multi-tenant sign, first of all, to show who's there. Now, you got to think also, like, there's not going to be an off-ramp at 3600. So any type of information with the speeds of vehicles that are here and the overpass, they're going to be making a decision this far back, and then they're going to negotiate how they're going to go past 3600 and then come back, because that's how that will work. So this is a bit about safety also. I do want to put that out, because the higher the speed on a road, the larger the sign or identification marker you want, so that they have a longer distance to make those decisions, to then, oh, I've got to get in the right lane, I've got to exit, and there we go. So I just wanted to have that conversation with you a little bit, and of course I'm here to answer any questions, but I do appreciate staff, again, publicly. They're wonderful. They have helped us through this, and I think we have a great product and location based on the other things that are up in the air, like the power poles, et cetera. So this will give good visibility for people to make the right decisions and how to get over to this commercial center. So once again, I concur with staff recommendations, and I'm here to answer any questions that you may have.
Just for clarity, this is looking east.
This is looking east, yes, at the western, like the northwest corner of the property.
Right.
And you've done that's a 70-foot?
That's at 70 feet.
Okay.
So I'm not even up to the first line of transmission wires that occur on the power poles.
To be fair, it's quite a bit wider than...
Oh, it is. Oh, no, it is. But if you're looking or trying to think, man, when I've been out in this area, it's going to be below those wires. So,
who do you anticipate using this mess? Is it? I mean, when they do these studies, they don't just come in here and throw one up just for fun. I mean, there's no off ramp. The closest off ramps that I'm seeing are basically either Redwood Road or the freeway would be the next one. So to get here, if you're on 2100, it's tough. So I was just thinking, who do they anticipate using this area?
So currently, we all understand that it's at grade and you're at an intersection and you are making that decision. I think about like the neighbor across the street, Maverick. That monument sign is just going to be obliterated by an overpass. It's going to be not obliterated, but missing. You're not going to be able to see it. The people here, we do always look at rooftops. That's very important because it becomes your Smiths. It becomes the neighborhood's Smiths marketplace, as well as these other restaurant or pad uses that occur. So what still has to happen with any type of commercial center is identification, and that usually comes from in this case, there is a themed sign plan that's occurring. And because the other monument signs you won't see, there needs to be identification to allow that movement to happen, whether it's previous or as I pass by it, and then have to make that decision to exit.
So, do they anticipate just Holbrook Farms coming on 3600 under the underpass to come to the Smiths, and then all that development that's south of there?
Yeah.
Because I don't really anticipate somebody from Saratoga Springs that's getting on 2100 to go to the freeway to see the sign and go, oh, I'm going to try to get back to there.
Oh, I do understand that.
Okay, thank you.
So if, for example, let me just identify one use. So Smiths and other grocers now are starting to use order online, drive up, pick up, and leave. And so that helps identify if someone is going to do that or go through the drive-through pharmacy or get out and do something. This then becomes a place within the stops they have or the places they need to go. They would just go, mental note, okay, this is here. Oh, I can't get off at 3600. We're going to go. I'll go do these other errands first, circle back, and then they'll make that decision. This has happened in a few other places where Bangor just passes by, but they still need to understand where that place is they want to go. If we were to stick with the regular code of a monument sign, based on the speeds that are going to be here, they're not going to see it. They just won't see it. And once again, there's a capture that's not happening. So that's why you see this particular strategy of where to locate a taller pylon sign.
Thank you. I'm not convinced, but
That's okay. Yeah.
Just even from this picture, right, we're at grade level, and by the time you get to the overpass, the sign's going to be, I'll be past it. So, which I think actually lends to your argument that a bigger sign is better.
I do. Based on the number of Smiths we do and grocers, we find that when it comes up to visibility or physical, just physical characteristics of that location, there's things that we really strive to do, and one is visibility. This is just
it's highly visible.
Just trying to get that. Yeah. But once again, because of the speed and the location, a decision needs to be made by a motorist that makes it a little safer.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess I don't like that argument because no, they're not going to get off at I-15 and circle back and wind through the neighborhood. The decision to go to this Smith's will have to happen when they're on Redwood Road and coming through and getting on to 3600.
So, and then also what this does is because of the wide right-of-way, also vehicles heading west now have an opportunity to see that and then make their corrective directional vehicular movements so that they can then circle around
to go all the way to Redwood Road and do the same thing.
So, yeah, and that's what we have because what we've identified is there's a lack of services out there that Smiths is trying to achieve. By the way, when UDOT decides to do that overpass, we don't know. That hasn't come up on their website for, for bid, for design drawings, anything yet. But they are working in this direction.
I'm famous for hating signs.
I know that.
Right? I'm not saying that you don't have a right to, the businesses don't have a right. I believe in that, and I want to protect that right the businesses have to advertise. But the problem that I see, the biggest thing that hits me hardest, and again, this is more a sentimental feeling than it is a code, is that beautiful mountain that you are blocking its view. Up to the snow line. That's preposterous to me. Like, that, there are so many treasures that we have, and there's so few of them, and we cover them with signage, and it boils my blood. I hate our code, how it's written. I know you absolutely have the right to ask, but I wish we would rewrite our code so they do not have the ability to ask for this size. They don't need it. It's not needed, in my opinion. I don't feel like the justifications that have been brought forward, maybe there will be a need for it when an overpass is built. And maybe that's something that we cross the bridge there and say, now, where we do have an unplanned freeway project that is not completed, we don't know exactly what we're dealing with as far as visibility and sight lines yet. We know that there will be some complications, particularly for your customers that are heading west, right? And I think that's really more what this is designed for. Like you're saying, the people that are going east have made that decision at this point already. Yes, they could see a sign and say, oh, let me flip around, right, and turn around. But it's your customers that are going west that you want to get ahead of, which I understand why you would want to put it on the east side of the property, right? I get it. And again, I talk about this every time a sign comes up. I hope you don't feel like I'm picking on you, right? But I really, really hate this.
We're talking about years of it not being an issue while the freeway's being built, and it's just going to be like a thumb sticking up in the middle, covering up the mountain. I agree with Tyson. I think we should cross the bridge when we get there and not years ahead of time.
Craig, do you have any counsel for us on this? Katie made it sound like we don't. So,
The additional height.
Yeah.
Sorry if I made it seem like that.
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, it's just the additional height. Like, you have the ability, if you can reasonably articulate why you think they should or should not get the additional height.
The height for pylon signs is basically allowed by code up to 25 feet. Anything above 25 feet, so up to 70 feet, that's where the kind of request comes in for that additional height.
Where else in Lehi do we have signs this size?
all over, unfortunately.
Just off the top of my head, Thanksgiving Point, their large marquee sign, the Outlet Mall, the other hospital, Holy Cross, the shopping center north of Timpanogos Highway, where the Harmons is. A lot of those big regional, even Macy's down here on Main Street, and they vary in height. I think the Macy's one may only be like 40 feet, or so. Yeah, probably the biggest ones. The tallest is by far the Outlet Mall. It's like 100 feet tall. Mm-hmm. And then from there's been several at like that. The 70-foot level. Even Edna's down here, their little restaurant sign. Again, that was for freeway visibility, but I think it's probably in the 70-foot range. Yeah.
think Edna's is an interesting example because of how much lower they are than the freeway.
Yeah, it's way down.
We don't know exactly how high this freeway is going to be yet. We know that there will be an overpass, but I would have a hard time believing it's the same height as what's next to Edna's. But maybe. I don't know. I'm not an engineer. Any other questions for the applicant? All right, we'll open the public hearing and come back to you if we have.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Thank you. This is a public hearing. If anybody from the public would like to speak to this, acknowledging we did receive quite a few public comments as well online, which we will get to afterwards. But if anybody here would like to speak to this, we will open the public hearing now. Seeing none, I'll turn it back over to Katie. Could you summarize those for us?
Yeah, so most of the concerns were over the height and potential impact of neighborhood character to the surrounding residential area of this, the townhomes nearby and the condos and things like that. There were 2 against, but there was actually just 1 question regarding where the 25-foot pylon sign would be located, and we'll be sure to reach out to that person and inform them of that. So.
We'll close the public hearing, bring it back to the commission.
With the, referring to that public comment, so is it, if it's, we're at 25? Oh, they already have the approval for the 25-foot?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, sorry. I'll go back to whatever I was doing over here.
Ken, you asked who will use this. This will be my neighborhood Smiths, so
Yeah.
I'll get a lot of use out of it. Second closest grocery store for me.
How will you get there?
I live on the other side of 2100, down by the skate park, so it'll be coming down the side road and then turning under 36. At least, I think that's how it'll go.
I actually disagree a little bit with your comment. I think a lot of people from Saratoga Springs would use this. There's quite a bit of housing just on the other side of Redwood Road. That's not far. And driving on Redwood Road to get to the other Smiths down the road, that's a nightmare. And the Walmart and things over there, like there's just, not that this isn't, this is also a very busy area. But I would think that they would capture some rooftops in Saratoga Springs.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think you're going to drive by on a freeway and go, oh, that's the Smiths. How do I get there? I mean, if it's a tourist from New York and they're just driving down the road and they see a sign, I don't know, I guess I'm losing the value of signs per se because we just use our phones now. We Google it and it takes us right there.
I do think I know that I have talked at length multiple times over the last 8 years about how much I hate signs. But I do think that there is a value to them. There's a wayfinding sign, there's some safety that comes with that as well. So I'm not fully anti-sign, but this feels egregious, especially when we have a couple of years to establish the presence of the business before there's the real need that they're asking for, right? They're asking for a future need. I think we have an opportunity to let the business get established now under our current sign code, and then they can make the petition when there's the absolute need, or when we know the size, height, when we have those plans from UDOT. Yes, that's another expense for the applicant down the road, and that is a large expense, I understand. But I feel like they have an opportunity to get anchored and established well before the need for that height is even present. And then maybe they'll decide that they don't even need that because they're well anchored and well rooted already within the community.
I know you closed public hearing. Is there?
You're able to come up. You're an applicant. You can speak to us. Yeah.
Ooh, applicant gets twice. Okay, thank you. I do hear you on this, and you're right about the cost of signage these days. It's quite a bit. Is there any way we could table this and I bring back an alternative that may be shorter than this, but I promise you that a 25-foot sign on this speed of road, it's difficult. And also, I love the view as well. I really do, towards the mountains and everything else. I would hope that drivers aren't looking too much into that view while they're driving, but there is that view. And once again, with the other elements that are happening with the power poles and the flag pole and that, I wonder if there's a way I could come back and maybe shorten this as much as we can for the speeds that we have and the visibility, and just come back to this. And maybe, I don't know where that would take you. I don't know if you've just made up your mind now, but if there is an opportunity, I would like to have it if we could.
Absolutely, and if you would like to request the table, we'll be happy to do that, to give you time to come up with something that you think might be more amiable for this group.
More shorter.
I can. Before
real
we
quick,
this
do
is
that.
part of my daily commute. This is part of my everyday neighborhood that I'm driving. When I'm looking at this, and there's a very important piece of infrastructure in the community, and it's bigger than that, I have a hard time with it. So, like, we have the hospital, which really isn't that far. It's less than a few hundred yards away, and the signage is bigger than that. I have a really hard time with that, where as a neighborhood person that drives past this on the daily, I would have a hard time with turning that relatively small area into like a giant shopping center like that. So just some of my thoughts off the top of my head.
Okay.
I do like the idea of tabling it and just come up with a different concept.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah,
You were saying.
I agree. I think we can definitely work on something. But we haven't talked about the square footage.
Right.
So if you do create a shorter, would that also decrease square footage, or would
It would.
Okay.
It would.
So
And
you
it-
keep the dimensions.
It needs to be proportional too, so we would look at that. So you might have in and lower, but
Yeah.
we would present that in our proposal.
I do appreciate you being willing
Yeah.
to look at different sides of the coin.
Let's see if we can. I know that the 25 would be ineffective for what's happening along here, but let me come back if I may, and I'll spend money. I'll eat dinner somewhere here, so you get my tax dollars. We'll work that out. But if we can, I would appreciate that very much.
Okay. With the applicant requesting a table, I'll entertain a motion.
If we could request maybe not a table, but maybe just a stay on it and give a specific date if you're gonna table it.
How much
If
time would you
table it,
like?
It just goes to the table, so let's,
Understood.
Right.
and I can't think of the word right now, because it's.
Continuance?
Continuance?
Yes, that's it.
Okay.
How much time would be enough for you?
I'm
When
going
would
to be
you
on
like-
this tomorrow. I'm going to be on it tomorrow, so I don't know where that puts us with public notification.
The 26th that would be their next meeting.
26th.
Would that be okay with this
Yeah.
commission?
Did we close the public hearing? Are we gonna?
You did, and then I jumped back.
Yeah.
Well, he's
No.
the applicant. He's
Oh,
not-
yeah.
No, I'm just thinking if we needed to re-advertise or
Is
If
that
we-
a Craig question? I don't know.
I think we don't need to reopen the public hearing, but we would need to,
We need to re-notify.
we do need to re-notify.
And if we re-notify, we might as well open a public hearing again.
Then that wouldn't be until the end of April.
Understood.
yeah, it's gonna put it out till the end of April because spring break, you don't have a first meeting in April.
Is it the work session that we miss?
We hold the work session, but not the first regular meeting. I think spring break falls during that second Thursday.
I won't go to spring break.
You'll be here. I'll be here. I'm an empty
Or
nest.
there, across the way.
I think this is important. I'd like to get it right.
Good.
So I'd love
Yeah.
to see what we can get, even if we have to push it into April.
So it
Obviously,
sounds like
wanna
if we
get that for
do
you
a
as soon as
public,
possible.
then you're just going to have another fee for us to notify, right? I mean, you're going to want us to pay that notification fee, which isn't, I just want to just clarify that.
Just need the envelopes again, the public noticing
Oh,
envelopes.
dang. Okay, yeah.
We wouldn't need another
I'd
fee.
love that. I love the envelopes. Okay, it's going to be moved to which?
April
The last meeting in April?
23rd? Or,
23rd.
let's see. Yeah, 23rd.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
So, motion to move this to April 23rd.
Is that the
Or to
motion?
continue this.
Continuance.
I'll make a motion.
Okay.
Item 3.4, public hearing and consideration of Golden West Advertising's request for conditional use approval for 2 pylon signs for Smith's located at 3808 West Hardman Way. I move that we give them a continuance to April 23rd meeting to come up with some other options for their signage.
Second.
Motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Hey, thank you very much.
Thank you. All right, 3.5, if anybody was here for 3.5, that has been pulled from our meeting today. However, it is a public hearing, so we will give anybody that came to speak to item 3.5 an opportunity to do so. And 3.5 is a recommendation of Windy Cities Development LLC's request to review the Spring
That's
Meadow.
3.6.
That's 3.5 on mine.
3.5.
3.5 says Spring Meadow Villas concept.
Oh, I wonder if,
Maybe we already took it off.
yeah.
It was 3.6, you were full 3.5, so 3.6 moved up.
Yeah. So 3.5 was originally the Traverse Mountain Area Plan amendment to move units out of West Canyon and adding them to locations near Timpanogos Highway.
Okay, that's not on our agenda at all.
Noreen must
So-
have pulled it before that came out, so we're. Yeah.
However, it was still notified as a public hearing.
It was.
So if anybody did come to speak to that item, we want to give you the opportunity to speak if you wanted to. We will open the public hearing. Seeing none, we will close the public hearing. However, we will reopen the public hearing when we hear that item. So let's move to, I guess, 3.5.
Yes, sorry. Sorry
real
about that. Okay. Item 3.5 is public hearing and recommendation of Windy Cities Development LLC's request for review of the Spring Meadow Villas PUD concept, a 72-lot single-family residential project located at 1630 South, 500 East. Approximately 33 acres are zoned R12, and the remaining 18 acres are zoned A5. The overall density of the subdivision is about 1.4 units per acre. The allowable density would typically be approximately 62 lots, but after discussion with engineering, an additional 10 lots are requested in lieu of reimbursement for multiple improvements, including there's additional landscaping beyond the required 20%. There is a power corridor dedication for the power lines through there, trail construction, landscaping, and dedication of future right-of-way along the south of the project for future regional connection, the Pony Express extension and Vineyard Connector. Let's see. There were 23 red line comments from the DRC, including to show the 4495 elevation contour. The Utah Lake shoreline overlay requires a 50-foot buffer from that elevation, and to note the future Utah Lake Parkway Trail. Please consider all DRC comments in your motion. A PUD may be allowed at the discretion of Planning Commission and City Council in any zoning district. The Planning Commission will give their recommendation to the City Council, which will be the ultimate approving body. This is a public hearing item. There were 8 online comments for this, but I will share those during the public comment period. So with that, I turn it back to the Commission for any questions.
Thank you.
Similar to last time we met, when there was an in lieu of, I'm looking at this and thinking, is there any sort of unit of measurement, like a metric, a number that you can give us that would help us better quantify what they're giving us monetarily, so that we can better judge if what they're giving us is actually worth the additional lots?
Yeah, the applicant could probably speak better to you than I could, but I wasn't involved with these discussions. This was before me. But I know that there is the Pony Express Road that will be coming down right at the tip of this property, which will be taking a big chunk of their property. It's like 105-foot right-of-way width. They are giving up some trail space for the trail coming through there. They are also putting in the road widening width there of 100, what is that, south? I forget what the south is.
1630.
1630 south. Yeah, so they're widening that for the city. There's some items like that. So they actually will be putting out quite a bit of money that will be commensurate with the 10 lots given there. So.
And I think another big part of the bonus was that they're giving additional open space above and beyond the minimum. So those are the main bonus items, but I don't know if we really come up with an actual, like a spreadsheet showing here's the items and here's the value. But
Yeah, thank you. That's helpful.
Okay, hopefully it helps a little.
I'm having a hard time seeing from the aerial views versus the concept plan.
It's just rotated.
Is it okay?
Yeah, it's just
so
turned.
it's the skinny one, A5. Okay, and it's
yeah, the lake is
Okay.
left.
It's a map.
Yeah.
sorry,
Yeah, so, yeah. South
but the
is down
space
here.
the space on the left is the space at the bottom.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, there is an abundance of public space being granted or dedicated here, or green space, not necessarily public, right? But how usable is that
Yeah,
land?
I was just gonna say, yeah,
How buildable is
The-
that land? How, I mean, really,
is it a swamp?
it is.
There's a bog in the area that I've heard swallows excavators. How far south of this is the TSSD transmission line and the secondary line from this property?
I don't know how many feet it is, but it's pretty close to that.
Okay.
I think probably the applicant knows pretty close to where that is, but I know it does run down along through there for sure.
Okay.
There's no plan to amenitize that space along the lake, right? It's just to be
Yeah, a
left
lot-
as open space.
Yeah, a lot of it is wetland and floodplain. This is similar to, it was called the Willis Estate subdivision, which is how we picked up Dragonfly Disc Golf Park. Similar property. It has, it's kind of ribboned with wetlands and things like that. So yeah, it wouldn't be like soccer fields or anything like that. The way the PRD ordinance is written, though, that is one of the qualifying things that we do want to preserve is natural areas. So it qualifies, but it definitely has different value than recreation, active recreation. It's more passive. So it could have bird watching or or just the preservation of nature in that area. So it's
Do we
trade-offs.
have, maybe this is an engineering question, do we have kind of the outline of where the main thoroughfare would be built that connects from Saratoga?
Yeah, the Pioneer or the Pony Express coming through there, we do. Yeah, we do have
And
an
that,
outline.
would that be it?
It's very similar to that. Yeah. Yeah, we connect
I
on
don't know
from
why
19
I was
south.
under the impression it wouldn't be that close to the lake,
Yeah, it runs down.
but it's
along
going to
through
be
there.
that close. I mean, I know that's a much needed connection through our city, which this is a benefit to help facilitate part of that plan.
So that the connector is shown on this map? So that's what we're looking at right there? So for these residents, is there going to be trails over there? Is there going to be any kind of access across this road?
I bet Tony would love to speak to that.
But,
Is that why you sit on the edge of the seat?
yeah, right now the plan is at least the plan is to have a grade separated trail crossing underneath here, so to get to the other side, because there will be a shoreline trail through here.
But it comes from the park, right? There's a park where the trail currently dead ends?
There is a park there.
I'm not talking about Dragonfly. I'm talking
Right,
about
yeah, this-
South Lake Park, or whatever it's called.
North
Lake Park.
Park, yeah.
The trail dead ends in North Lake Park currently. Would this be an extension of that trail?
I'm not exactly sure. Do you remember?
Yeah. There's a couple of other parcels in between this and North Lake Park that the county actually is working on trying to make that a unified connection. So all those pieces in between are other owners, but the idea is that you would connect to the North Lake Park Trail, and then it now goes all the way, I think, it goes into Saratoga, where the Jordan River outlet is, and then eventually we'd try and connect it around the southeast into American Fork.
Any other questions for staff? I'm sure we have questions for Tony.
Yeah, sorry.
Okay.
Is this road that's south of there, is it going to be a 2-lane road? Is it
Yeah,
3-lane? Is it gonna be like
originally it will
Pioneer?
be a 2-lane road, but eventually it is scheduled to be a 5-lane road.
Yeah.
So, but right now the
It's got
funding.
a lot of width.
Yeah, it is
It's
a
a
lot of
wide
width.
road.
It is a wide road, yeah.
Okay.
So, but yeah, so the funding right now through MAG is just a 2-lane road through there now.
Thank you.
A true
Thank you.
2-lane, or is it a 3 with a turning lane?
Well, at intersections, I think it'll bump out to 3 and then go back to 2.
Any other questions for staff? It's the applicant present. Tony, it's been a while.
Tony Train. It has been a little bit since we brought this through for the zone change and all the stuff that we were talking about then. These were the ideas. The main thing we were waiting for was trying to get some resolution on that road. FEMA also has made some adjustments with floodplains and stuff down here, lowered the whole issue with the lake. So there's been some good things happen. We know there's some challenges with that road, so we've been trying to work with Brad and the group to try to get solutions on that road, because everybody knows that's absolutely needed. And so, yes, the principles behind it of why we've gone in this direction were a lot of, working together for it. They definitely don't want, as a city, lots on the other side of that road between the lake. It just makes sense to dedicate it. We would love it if you'd push the road all the way to the lake, but this is the alignment it needs to be. The property owner's willing to work with them to get the property for this, to make, the development work. One of the main comments that we had through the phases before was try to do something that had a little bit of a variety, not just straight, 10,000 square foot lots. Get something that had a little variety to it. But this piece of property has a lot of cool features about it, but those cool features bring some challenges to make them the cool features. The bridge itself that we've been talking to Brad about, you can kind of see that darker area where Spring Creek goes, the channel. They're going to build a box culvert for Spring Creek. The trail will try to be close to that. Underneath with a box, so it'll go fairly close to that. So yeah, there are, the hope is that there will be some cool amenities for this down here and make that trail go all the way through, which is a big advantage. The power corridor is a neat feature, but does bring a lot of challenges. So the development that happened with Willis, that they were similar. They were a lot smaller, but through their justification of that open space, they were the same. They were about 10 lots extra. This has quite a bit more that we're dealing with, but we felt the transition, like you had recommended before, not just one, 10,000, to try to do a little variety, we think brings some character to this. But when we come back with preliminary, there will be those recommendations as to why all this dedication, what the improvement costs are, you know, where those improvements are going forward with, and why that justification's there. We just need recommendation that this is the right. There's still some things to work out. The city needs a little bit wider road potentially through there. We talked about it a little more today, in fact. So we may end up having to do a little bit wider local through there. So, I mean, there's a number of things to bring back with preliminary that make this work. But the justification.
Are you talking particularly 530 East?
Yeah, 530 East.
Okay.
Yeah.
Same with the other, or
no?
Just 530 East.
Just 530 East. A little what we'd call just a wider local. So.
What would that do to your lot sizes?
That's what we were talking about today in the challenge. If you take 6 feet out, I mean, it's not a huge impact, but the benefit, it's an impact.
Yeah.
So we've got to just work through a number of minor things with that. But we feel this like we tried to match what was there on Spring Creek on the other side. We widened them as we went a little further west, and then as we go south down to the road, we got them bigger. So we felt that this was the direction we were given when we came through, you know, for zone change on it. And the idea behind it is, you know, it's meeting a really good principle down here. And there's some really cool features that will enhance the area if we can get them, you know, to work out. I know it's not a soccer field, but I'm surprised that it's a nice wetland. I mean, nice area down there by there, and it probably won't ever have the water up there again. But you never know.
Right.
I mean, like you have years like this, and it depresses you a little bit because it'd be nice. But yeah, with the pumps over there, Utah Lake will stay lower than it's ever been, and I guess unless we have that Noah flood again. But that being said, it has really cool potential, and yeah, you've heard of some of the bogs down here that swallow excavators. We've worked in a lot of areas, but the advantage is we've got some fill already in. Brad was pretty excited that he can put the road in some areas where we've already taken care of some of those things, which is good. It helps.
It's not done being graded, right? Would there still be more fill to come in?
Just roads. I mean, as far as bringing it up anymore, no. I mean, they've already lowered the floodplain down in this area a couple feet, so.
Would this area allow for basements?
No.
Didn't think so.
Yeah, we wouldn't. We just wouldn't recommend basements. Right. No, there's probably some manipulation to the fill and bringing in the roads a little bit more so that we can, you know, stabilize the roads.
Sure.
But, I mean, luckily that fill's been down there for long time.
Yeah.
That's the one advantage of it being delayed a little bit. But that being said, we definitely feel this is the appropriate direction in working with the city for the last, you know, few years, trying to come up with the right solution. And we just think this is appropriate for all the things that we're trying to accomplish with the city.
Can you help us wrap our head around the number of units you're asking in lieu?
On the 10?
Asking for 10?
Yeah.
We
put a little justification on maybe it's on the cover sheet of what it was. Like the road, for instance, they're asking a little bit more on that, but you know, for 2.5 acres of property, if you take the density of the 1.75 units per acre for 2.5 acres, you know, you'd have 6 lots for that dedication. We had the trail corridor going through the power. I apologize, I don't have it right in front of me, but on that cover sheet, it stated what that was. Okay, so if we do all the construction through here and we dedicate the power corridor, here's the construction. So that's state 2-3 lots, whatever that was. 6 lots to dedicate the road. The extra open space that we're dedicating beyond the 20% would quantify for 3 lots, because it is more of natural open space than, say, the soccer field type thing. That's the justification that we used for the 10 lots. I think it was like 10.2 or something that we put. Do you remember, Gary? I can't remember.
No, I just looking up the notes here. It says additional open space of 8.34 acres, in addition to the required 20%, power corridor trail construction and landscaping, dedication of future right-of-way along the south of the project, and then it also includes the widening of the road.
So when we were going through the numbers, the widening of the road up on there, when we were going through the numbers with, the group, Brad and Lauren, and okay, here's the dedication of that road. That's where the 6 lots came from. This dedication up here would be 1 lot. This trail corridor through here would be 3 lots. And all this open space down at the bottom would be 3 lots. So it turned out to be, I think, 10.23 lots. And that's where we came with the 10 lots.
Thank you.
If that makes sense.
No, it does. I mean, as much as the math makes sense, right?
Yeah.
Just for clarification, though, that future road on the south side,
Yes.
you're not building that.
No.
That's a UDOT project, right?
Yes. So they're working on purchasing everything right now. And so that was some of the reason, like why I said it's taken a little longer to bring this back is because we're trying to work through the road with them and get it in the right position so that we can finalize our concept and our preliminary plat to bring back to you.
But you would take your stub all the way to it, to where it's close to where it's going to be.
Yeah, we'd stub it down to where so they could tie it in when they do the construction. Right. And I mean, I'm pushing Brad as much as anybody. I know the need for these roads, so we're trying to help anywhere we can to get, solutions for. I'm working with a couple of the other farmers over there, trying to help them as well, so we can get this road going. Because I'm as aware of anybody as the need for these things. But
any other questions for the applicant?
There may be a question at the end of this.
Sure.
More just to tell you what I'm thinking right now. I'd like to approve this tonight with modifications. Okay. As it is right now, I feel like I'm having a hard time justifying myself to approve it. Going back to some of your earlier comments, I agree with you that I don't want to see any housing on the left side of that road. I'd like that to remain open space. Also would like to see that trail connection under the power lines, like you mentioned. I do understand the concept of in lieu, but I would like to see that 10 number parsed down to where perhaps like 4 to 8 of those lots were taken away, and part of that was consumed by some of the other lots to make the lots bigger and also give you the space that you need to be able to make the roads the width they need to be. So whether for you or the rest of the commission, that's just kind of my thoughts right now.
Great.
No, it's totally fair, and we don't mind that. I'm just trying to help get that road built. And, I mean, if you'd prefer to pay for the road versus lots, we'll work with you.
Right.
But I know they're struggling already, so anything we can do to help, we'll try to help. If that's fair.
Great. Thank you, Tony.
Yep.
Thank you.
This is a public hearing. If there's anybody who would like to speak to item 3.5, this is your chance to do so. We'll open the hearing.
My name is Wes Davey, and I live at 588 East, 1630 South. And we've not gotten, me or neither, my neighbors haven't gotten any of these maps and stuff, and as far as I can see, it doesn't go just south to 1630. It goes a lot further, like double that. And this is all a wildlife area back there. There was, till a couple of years ago, it was a cow pasture, but other than that, you could see deer and you could see all kind of wildlife. And now you're going to turn it all into houses. Between what this is going to be and what America Fork is going to be, you've entered wildlife down there, and you've entered a reason for a lot of people live back in there. I have other comments, but they're pretty snide, and I won't make them right now. So, how far does this go back? Does it go past 1630, or how far back? I don't.
So in the public hearing, you can ask questions, and we'll address them after we close the hearing. So present all your questions. We'll take notes, and then we'll address them when you're finished.
Well, could somebody point on a map where the south end of that is?
We'll get to it.
Was there a map available that we can look at, or?
We'll address that question in a moment, and stay, because we'll get to that question. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Natalie Woodhouse, and I live in the Spring Creek Ranch neighborhood that is just east of this proposed development. I hope I'm not going to be too redundant with some of the online comments. I can't remember what I read a few days ago, but some things that I would just like the Planning Commission to please consider and take into consideration is, one of them is wildlife related. So in the development code, I want to say it's section 12, it talks about just that we need to mitigate wherever we can the impact on wildlife, especially, like critical wildlife. And in the south half of this neighborhood that is being planned, there are a lot of mature trees, might not be preferred trees, but we see, like when I'm in the Spring Creek Park and look to the west, we often see bald eagles that fly into these trees. There are a lot of crane, a lot of other wildlife, there are a lot of deer in that area, and that is a really big concern for me that we are, I hear in an earlier item that was presented this evening where somebody asked to add horses to their property, I heard a comment from a commission member saying that, I would like to see more of this in Lehi, and I took that to understand is more, preserving open space, maybe in this case for domesticated horses, but I'm concerned that we are just not really considering some of the items in the development code related to wildlife preservation and not having the impact on them in areas like this. Another aspect to this is also in the development code, it talks about reducing light pollution next to or into wildlife habitats. And so if we have, there might not be like big floodlights type things, but if we have homes that far down, and these days all the new homes that are getting built, I'm seeing them building sports courts in their backyards, which is fun, but they often have lights at nighttime, and if that will impact the wildlife as well. So that's kind of a concern for me. A question for you to maybe address later. I am curious, all the open space that the development would keep open on the south side of that future road, would that be, I think I heard the term a right-of-way, a right of easement, but would that be open to the public, or could this be turned into an HOA where they're like, only people from, that live in that HOA can go underneath the road and up to the lake? That would be, I think, short-sighted and a bummer for the rest of Lehi residents and people in the area, so just something to consider there. I had questions on the FEMA flood maps, but it sounded like you said that maybe those were recently changed because it used to be a 100-year floodplain, and so I was concerned about that. Another area to consider, and I think it's been touched on, but there's both the plans for the future Pony Express road, which, yes, roads are needed. Am I a fan of that location by the lake? Absolutely not, but, I can't decide that. There's also the Utah Trail plans, the plans that were mentioned to have a trail that goes all the way around Utah Lake. And I'm having a really hard time envisioning or conceptualizing when we're building developments like this close to the lake. How do we even have enough space to put in a Pony Express Parkway trail and the Utah Lake Trail for pedestrians and bikes and still have open space for wildlife or just green areas? It's not that big of a space between the lake and the proposed south end of this neighborhood, so I have some concerns in that regard. The section or chapter, let's see, was it 35 or 36? I think it's 35 of the development code talks about tree protection. On the east side, south to north of this proposed development, on the Spring Creek Ranch side, there is a trail that runs along there. And there are a lot of trees there. Might not be preferred trees. I think a lot of them are Russian olives. I get that. But they do provide a lot of shade, still helps with air quality. A lot of birds are in those trees. And if I'm looking at that map correctly, it basically looks like all these trees would be cut down and be replaced with people's fences in their backyards. I just wonder if the commission may have considered maybe requiring a little bit more of a buffer to keep some green space, whether that would mean keeping those Russian olive trees or planting new trees or something, but it just seems really, really close to just have, like, you have backyard fences, then the trail that's already there in the existing neighborhood, and then more backyard fences. It just, you really lose that sense of being in the outdoors that a lot of people in Lehi keep saying they want to preserve in Lehi every time they go and, elect people on our city council. And so maybe that's more something for the city council when they consider their final decision on this, but it'd be nice to really consider maintaining that open space. One more question that I had, and that is and maybe that's just not been updated yet, but the zoning map does not show any recent zoning change to R122. It still shows A5 for the entire area, the north and south part of this. I was just confused about that because that's not reflected online correctly. And then also the environmental sensitive areas maps for Lehi City shows all of this area as an environmental sensitive area. It is all wetlands, and just something to just keep in mind as you make your decision, like, are those areas really areas we want to build homes? I know we have a lot of growth. I get that. We're not going to just stop building, but it'd be really nice to do this with a long-term, smart approach to where our kids and our kids' kids still feel like there's some open space and some green area in our city and around the lake. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else would like to speak to this item?
Hello, Commission. Thank you for your time and service on the Commission. My name is David Packard. I live in Spring Creek Ranch neighborhood. I'm at the four-way stop of Spring Creek Ranch and 1630. So 1675 South Spring Creek Ranch Road is the address. I'm also a member of the Spring Creek Ranch HOA board. So wanted to come hear the discussion tonight. I think there's been a lot of comments already, so I don't need to rehash those. And I think Natalie said some of my questions well. The mature trees is a major question. If you go in Spring Creek Ranch neighborhood, one of the main selling points and best features is that natural, the trees, the wildlife. There's great hiking and walking trails in there, and these would connect right into this proposed neighborhood. So I'm sure this neighborhood would just be very cohesive. They would come over for the trees. So would love to preserve the unique features as much as we could already. Also a question would be the Spring Creek Ranch Park. There's some great features, some pickleball courts, and those were recently resurfaced, and good field, playground. So there is some developed area, but a unique feature, just west of that developed area is just, and you can see on the map, it's kind of just natural vegetation. And kids love going in there off the beaten path, getting that different experience than you would get. And I'm sure some of these would be future discussions, but I'm curious what the city would have in mind with potential expansion of that park. Another question that I have that I'm sure would be future conversation is just the formulation of an HOA for this development. I think potentially we would be interested in just seeing what the possibilities would be of either merging the two HOAs, or maybe that has a separate HOA. I'm not sure. But again, thanks for your time, your consideration. I work for a local government myself. I sit through a lot of these meetings, so I understand and appreciate your dedication. Thanks.
Thank you. Anybody else that would like to speak to this item? Come on up.
We own the property Hey, I'm Brent Collin. We own the property to the west of this. And I'm just curious how far this is going to be away from the fence line, because we run livestock in there, and I just don't want, I'd hate to have kids coming over, and is there going to be any kind of privacy fence or something?
Great question. Thank you. Anybody else? Katie, do you mind summarizing some of the comments we had online?
Yes. So there were 8 total. 7 were against and 1 was for. A lot of the comments echoed what was heard tonight. There were concerns about an increase in traffic, concerns about loss of open space and potential community character, impact on nearby amenities and Spring Creek Ranch, and there were also concerns about wildlife in the area. So.
We'll close the public hearing at this point, bring it back to the commission. Tony will invite you up to address any of the questions that you heard.
A lot of those comments are very similar to why we have worked with the city to try to get this to balance, to preserve the open space to the south, not put residents down there. Build a few bigger lots along that park and try to keep it more natural. We love the trees. I mean, that's on the trail. I do understand every property owner has the right to come tear those trees out on their property, but we desperately hope they don't. Some of the Russian olives probably do need to be removed, but to try to preserve a natural fill, that's the whole point of this. Spring Creek, we want to do something that is very similar to what they're doing and try to accomplish it that way. That's the point of why it's gone in this direction. The trail along the corridor is a good thing. To Colin's, I did talk to his sister. There would need to be a right to farm analysis done, and we need to put a fence up there that protects his right to farm. And we'd want to try to do it with them as much as possible to create something natural there. But whatever we need to do to protect their right to farm, we'd work with him on with their family on that. FEMA, this area is not in the flood. I mean, everything that's shown on the lots is not in the floodplain. It's not. That's why the zoning happened the way it did. So, I mean, that's why we've been working with FEMA. It's outside of that. It's not in the ESA zone where we're working. We would love the road. I mean, if you look at where the road's being placed and what's south of it, there is a lot of space to the lake, lots of space. You have just our dedication there, 500 feet plus all the room that's outside of what we're dedicating. So there's an awesome opportunity to do some, a couple of nice trails and preserve some wildlife down there. A very good point in that natural park that you have of trying to preserve it to be natural. We did do a trail connection at the recommendation of some of the staff we talked to right there between those 2 lots that are shown. This may adjust slightly, but we want that to be a natural trail and connect through so everybody is able to, benefit from that natural environment that's created there. Spring Creek is a great place. They have some good neighbors. Hopefully, the intent is to match, like was stated, what they have and bring some benefit to that. There are a lot of things that need to be done to bring benefit to the city here. A lot of that costs bring some funds, and so we just are trying to balance it the best we can. Bring some bigger lots that create a nicer environment, do some similar lots to what Spring Creek has to match the neighborhood, and try to help to get this road through, get some of these trails connected, and create a cool environment down here. But that's the intent. And we love all your recommendations, so whatever we can do to make this work, we just appreciate your help with it, and we'll work with the neighbors the best we can to make it work.
I have a quick question for
You
you,
bet.
Tony. So just for clarification, particularly on those trees, particularly the trees that are very close to the line of Spring Creek
Park.
development and park.
Yeah.
Are you saying the intent is to pull none, zero of those trees
Oh.
out?
I wouldn't say none.
I like to lock you in.
Yeah. My intent would be no, but there are some that are in really bad shape. There's some in there if you went and walked it, there's some dead ones that need to be cleaned up a little bit. So, I mean, if I make a statement that we're not pulling any trees, I wouldn't. To get some good ones growing in there, you need to pull some of those dead ones out and make it work. So, I'd say yes, there's. My intent would be to clean it up, but not pull any trees. It's a
acknowledging
nice
that
place.
that a future parcel landowner can do what they want with their land, right? They can pull a tree if they want.
They absolutely could, and I mean that's. But they have preserved a space, and most of those trees down through the park are pretty close to the property. I mean, there's some that go into the park, so we could absolutely. I mean, they're going to absolutely be preserved, and they do have that 20-foot trail corridor that goes up there. That's a nice feature, and so yeah, the more that we can help to preserve that, the better. But I have no idea why those good ones up there anybody would pull, but everybody has the right to do what they.
They're not planned to be pulled during excavation or build out.
Not along that trail, that west side, no. Okay. Like I said, if you go out there, you'll see there's some trees that need to come down. They're not in good shape, and they're going to cause some problems. But if we could clean it up and preserve the good trees and help them survive, would be absolutely the intent. I mean, why
touch something you don't need to?
No, yeah, it's just more work for no reason. And they're, as was brought up, that's a really nice feature. I mean, it'll help to have those along that trail. It's a nice trail. It goes right down to the park. The park has pickleball courts over there. If we can get a trail underneath this new road that they're going to build, that they can go through, it really enhances the area.
Let's talk about that trail a little bit. There was a question of would that be
it's not
policed by an HOA? Okay.
It would be a public. I mean, everything that's open space will be public. So there's advantages to that, but it's also, needs to be maintained by the public.
We as a city don't get involved with the HOA as far as merging or all of those things. That's something that you as the developer can discuss with that neighboring HOA. That's out of our purview.
Some of the challenges with that, but
that's a discussion for you guys to have.
Yep, we can do that.
Not for us. So
you guys are going to be so pretty much everything south of the straight line from, all the portions you're donating to public use and leaving open. Are you donating the land that the future road is in, or are you working with UDOT to already sell that?
Well, that's what I was just saying. If some of the recommendation was, we'd prefer not to give those as a bonus. We'd prefer to buy the road. That's I mean, that's fair. It's just we're trying. We know the difficulties that are faced, and so we're trying to come up with creative ways to make that everything balanced. There's always a balance.
Yeah, no, makes sense.
But we think, basically everything that south side would be dedicated, which is quite a bit of property. Mm-hmm. And in doing that and trying to concentrate the density further north and putting a few bigger, some of the bigger lots a little bit along that park, we just think this is the right approach to do it. But as of right now, the justification, the expenses on this are going to be over the 10 lots. So if we don't want that and we have to come back through what the purchases will be, we just work that through that at the preliminary.
Okay. Any other questions?
Can I go back to the trees?
Please do.
Absolutely.
Okay. So are you guys going to put a fence along that back?
We don't have to put a fence on that side. We do
on the farm
west side. Yes.
So
the intent wouldn't be that the development does any, like a standard fence where you tear all the trees down and put a single fence in. Because I agree with what the statement is. If we could do if I were a property owner, I'd probably put a fence in there that works with the trees if I had to. So, but there's challenges with that.
So you guys aren't planning to put a fence back
Development is not planning to tear those trees out, no.
Okay.
We prefer not to, that they come out, but we'd clean them up and would help that trail function a little better with some cleaner trees.
Because it is cool that there's bald eagles.
Oh, yeah.
Go through that area.
Well, that's why I said I've been down there, and I actually, those wetlands down below are pretty nice wetlands. And if you can get a trail through there, I mean, they're not big trees down there, but it's a beautiful wetland. And yeah, like they said, there's deer down there. I've been there many times when the birds are out and flying, and walking through that natural park. Plus, you got pickleball courts. It's a nice setup. So, and we feel that this would enhance and help. We were trying to buffer that natural park too. We had a conversation, do we put a road along that? And Mike, your planner, brought up, it would be nice to put lots against that, and some of your bigger lots like you've shown, to try to protect that park and that natural park and keep some of the noise away from it. So, like I said, a lot of direction's been given through this whole, years process we've gone through.
Does Spring Creek Ranch, the park there, does it have lights on the pickleball courts?
I don't think it does.
No?
No.
Because that was the other concern, was light pollution?
Yeah, I think it does have some in the pavilion, but not on the pickleball courts.
Nothing.
Yep.
You don't have any top lots or whatever, flip parks or anything going in here?
No, more natural and trails and stuff like that is what our hope is. Yeah, I mean, if any enhancements needed to be done, we'd probably prefer they go over in your improved section. But it's a pretty decent park right now. It's a good space. So our emphasis would be trails and open corridors and more natural, which I think is what the sentiment we've heard from residents when we've had communication. Any other questions with that?
No, sir.
Thank you. I'm still here, though.
Staff, there was the question of the zoning online, that it's listed online as A5.
Yes, that is correct. I think it's just an error of our GIS department hasn't updated it yet, but we do have the zone change, right?
Yeah, it took a little bit of time to get the water sorted out, but we probably just need to let our GIS people know. They did take a zone change through last fall, summer?
It's been a year.
Yeah, maybe.
It's been about a year.
Okay. And it was approved for the R122, but sometimes the ordinance just hasn't been recorded yet, so.
We would have pushed a little quicker, but we're trying to resolve the road too, so.
This has been a project you've been on for a while. Any other questions for staff? Or other comments, concerns, questions? Or motions? Preferably just one.
I don't know if city council is going to like the density in lieu of, and that's where I'm kind of leaning. Like, the subdivision in the area makes sense. It makes sense that it matches the neighborhood to the south of it, and what's to the north of it as well. Or sorry, to the east of it, and what's to the north of it as well. I just think the density in lieu is something that our city council won't really go for. At least just some of the online comments that some of them have made. I think they'd rather just pay for improvements.
And that's up to them, right? That's not really. I mean, we are looking at a layout here that shows that bonus 10 lots. But again, that's not our decision to make. That is absolutely the city council's decision to make. They control the purse on that.
Are we? Is this not our
think we're final on it.
This is how do these work? Sometimes these go forward, sometimes they don't.
Yeah, because it's a PRD, it would go forward.
Okay, because it says
If it was-
final review in the packet.
Oh, okay. Yeah, where if it was a standard subdivision, this would be the final decision body, but with it being a PRD, it would go forward.
So this will go forward to the city council, even though the packet says final approval.
Yeah, that should say review and recommendation.
Yeah, our just thought is if your recommendation is that you'd rather have them spend the money and not try to work through these balances, there is quite a bit. So that's, this has quite a few things that are coming. So I know the challenges. So, yeah.
One of my comments earlier, did you work with TSSD at all as far as their pathway coming through?
Yeah, and I've tried to, I mean, the other issue, we don't really have a exact alignment of that road as well. So that's, I mean, that's why we're trying to work through all those issues.
Makes sense.
So the more impact that we have, the more challenging things that we're dealing with and trying to work through, you know, purchase and dedication and, so to have some flexibility on lots would be very good in this circumstance. And to your point, the city council may or may not. Our recommendation is we do feel like the in lieu situation here is appropriate, and we'd just like some flexibility to discuss what those options are through, you know, the preliminary. But you know, at the end of the day, if the city council says we'd just rather pay for everything, I mean, it's challenging, but we'd work with them however they need to work with. So,
makes sense.
Yeah, we just ask that you make a recommendation if you do it based on that we feel that there is some justification for the in lieu working, or, I mean, if your recommendation is no, just stick with the 62 lots, then it would be, that they'd be paying for a lot of extra things. But it's okay. Well,
thank you.
Yep.
Can I make a comment?
Sir.
First of all, Tony, the applicant, he's juggling a lot of pieces in here to this puzzle and to try and make them all fit together. And honestly, I think he's done a remarkable job in doing that and what he's presented here. I just wanted to make that statement. The second thing is that the density in lieu is a really great tool for the city to use. I mean, they're giving up a lot for what they're getting there. When I look at this and some of the other ones we've done, I'm kind of surprised it isn't more than 10 lots that were given up, because some of that density was pulled out of that ESA zone and allowed to be put up into here too. So I'm sort of surprised that it isn't more than 10 lots. And it's a great tool for the city to use to save a lot of money. And if we had to widen the road and buy the property and do all these other things, it'd be a lot of money for the city. And, you know, cities' budgets are always tight and stretched anyway, so it allows us to have him put these in for us, basically. We do give up some density in lieu for that, but allows us to use that money in other spots of the city. You know, maybe around the corner there's some other intersections that need to be improved or something to help traffic flow in this area too. So it's a great tool, and Tony's been very gracious and patient, honestly, with the city with some of the changes and things we've requested from him. So I think it's a great option for the density in lieu, and I think it's probably a very fair value for the city on this end.
Thank you, Gary.
Tony, with the alignment of that future road not finalized, not nailed down, are you concerned that we're going to be pushing into the neighborhood? There's going to be eminent domain.
I think we can work with Brad. We'll make this work. I mean, we've been working on, like Gary said, we've tried a number of different things to make this work, and it's absolutely a balance. And there's a reason why we've been at it a year and a half, you know, trying to come up with the right thing. So we've had a lot of meetings and things like that. Yes, there's always a concern that when we come back to preliminary, we'll have to justify a little bit more, or they may come in and say, no, we need to shift this way to the north, and it changes everything. But right now, this is what the city's intent was. This is what, you know, all the stuff we've worked through with planning and with engineering. this just brings what everybody's trying to meld together into the right project. And so many moving parts, but it just feels like this is the right direction to go to make everything work. And Gary's absolutely right. That's why he said if we go through, start justifying numbers, it's.
You didn't hear that. We're fine, you know.
Well,
no,
I'd rather not.
I get it.
I'd rather not put you guys in a spot or put the public, because I really want to help the city get this done.
Sure.
So,
the last thing though, would this go to final plat before that road the location is decided?
Well, we're trying to work with Brad right now to get that decided. I mean, that's why it's delayed, because now he's got the fund. We've got the alignment. We're working through that right now. So the intent is that we have that all. Well, no, it needs to be done. We need the alignment nailed down. Why would you put lots in and then them come back and need to? But the advantage is we're putting it up on the fill instead of down in the bottom along the sewer. The sewer is actually quite a bit further south than where he wants the alignment. But I mean, this saves him quite a bit of fill. I mean, the advantage of putting it up on top of that fill too is we have to get under that box culvert for that trail. So everything's working pretty good with what this development is showing, but the challenge is the way to approach them. The recommendation and the discussion was this in lieu of. And the reason why I didn't go over 10 is because that's what the neighbors got. They were much smaller. But yeah, I do think 10's a fair approach. It puts some burden on the developer, but that being said, I think it's the right project. So I'm always about fair and right. I just think this is the right project for this situation. So that's why it's where it is.
Thank you, Tony. Thank you.
As evidenced by my earlier comments, I was skeptical of the in lieu of with it being 10, but I really appreciate Gary's comment, and I trust him and his expertise explicitly, especially in this regard. And so I'm ready to put forward a motion that we approve it, unless anyone has any objections.
Please do.
All right. What are we? 3.5, public hearing recommendation of Windy City Development LLC's request for review of the Spring Meadow Villas concept, a 72-lot single-family PUD, planned unit development located at 1630 South, 500 East. The recommendation being that this be approved when it does go to City Council, with the findings being that the proposed concept is consistent with Lehi City's Development Code, and that it does conform to the goals and policies of the general plan, and please include DRC findings.
Second. Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Thank you, Tony. And go work out that HOA thing. Sounds interesting. So are we on 3.6? Which in our packet says X developments request for
Yes,
review.
so that has been removed.
So 3.6 is removed.
That has been withdrawn and will be scheduled for the next Planning Commission meeting on the 26th.
Okay, 3.7 is crossed off on our packet, on our thing, which says public hearing recommendation of Lehi City's request for development.
That is.
Did you guys pull that?
No, we did not.
Okay, so
That is what you're
3.6 has
discussing.
been pulled.
Yes.
Do we need to address that?
It was a public hearing, so if you want to open public hearing.
Were there any public comments? I
No.
don't remember any on that.
No.
It'll have public hearing.
So we'll have the public hearing when it comes back. Okay, then let's go to 3.7.
Yes, sorry about that. Be sure to check the agenda next time. So 3.7 is public hearing and recommendation of Lehi City's request for review of a development code amendment to both table of uses and to Chapter 12 to convert conditional uses to permitted uses based on pre-existing supplementary requirements. This is the first of several phases to update the non-residential and residential table of uses. The purpose of the comprehensive update is to adjust several sections of the conditional uses to be permitted uses per Planning Commission direction. Some of you guys weren't here, but last year we kind of discussed this And so that's what staff has been working on. The first part of the amendment prioritizes uses that already contain supplementary requirements in Chapter 12 that essentially act as conditional uses, act as conditions of approval. There were no DRC comments for this. This is a legislative item. The Planning Commission can give either a positive or negative recommendation to the City Council, who will then approve with changes, or deny the amendment. You guys have a lot of discretion in recommending approval of changes and things like that. This is a public hearing item. There were no comments online for this one, so turn it back to you guys for any questions.
Thank you. Any questions for staff? Essentially, we're trying to remove a lot of conditions, right?
Yeah, we're trying to streamline the conditional uses of section of the code. We notice that there are a lot of uses that require conditional uses, and there's a lot of times where they come to you guys and, not quite sure what conditions could even be put on certain uses and things like that. So we've actually worked a lot with Craig on this table to kind of clean those up and what uses could actually have conditions put upon them. So.
Really, we just try to take out all the ones where conditional use is a permitted use with reasonable conditions.
Mm-hmm.
We try to look at the reasonable conditions that could be applied to the current conditional uses and go, okay, we're just going to change the requirements for that to include what those are, because then that gives more clarity not only to applicants and people that are coming in, because a lot of people will come in to try and oppose a conditional use thinking that you guys can just stop everything, when in reality
we can't stop anything.
That's
Let's
not
be
very,
real.
that's not
Let's
very
be
fair
real.
to you or to those individuals that come. So it's nice to have that clear roadmap to see how something gets approved.
It was unclear to me, will any of these be removed from our purview then? Will they go to stop at DRC? Or will they still come before us, just now as a permitted instead of as a conditional use?
Yeah, let me double check.
I think it would depend on if they ask for exceptions. If it goes to a permitted use, probably actually quite a few of them would
stop before they get
just
to
go
us.
it. And
Yeah.
if they meet all of the standard conditions, or, the preset ones that are in Chapter 12, unless they were asking for an exception for parking or setbacks or some of those things that we've seen.
Or height of fence.
Yeah.
It also gives you guys a little bit more power, right? If it's an exception, that gives you a little more leeway, legal standing to deny or to amend or to work with someone. Just kind of like the signs, right? 25
Sure.
feet, but anything above that is it's an addition that they can come to you. So I think what this does is it clarifies a lot of that.
And
You'll have to still see a lot of it.
sure, no, that's what I was afraid of. Are we being boxed out? It's like,
Okay, so question for me. There are just a few instances, like with heliports, where I am seeing that their conditional use is being removed entirely across all districts. So that's conditional use and permitted use. So in cases like that, let me see if I can find another example. My question is, does that mean that they're just no longer allowed, period? Whether permitted or conditional?
Yeah, if there's not a P or a C in the box, then that.
Are there exceptions for hospitals and things like that, correct?
Yeah, it seems like some of those we just felt like maybe they weren't compatible.
Since Kim moved out of the city, he's really mad that he, wanted his own heliport in the backyard, and now he can't.
Well, I'm trying to remember if
Yeah,
there's
it's really cool.
another reason. Maybe heliports are allowed as part of hospitals. I'm trying to remember.
well, even the packet here says heliport was removed due to an amendment last year that clarified that heliports are allowed as an accessory use for hospitals.
Yeah, we went over that one. I remember.
So I think that's why they were removed.
So it's saying removed everywhere but hospitals, basically.
Yeah.
Is that what that's saying?
Yeah.
Are there any other public facilities or public uses where a helipad might be crucial other than a hospital? Chick-fil-A.
I did have a heliport up in Traverse Mountain, so.
You guys remember last year someone in Harriman built a heliport on their house?
Oh my gosh.
It was really sweet, and but then the neighbors complained and ended up going to legislation or something.
They're
I know
noisy.
Park City and Wasatch County and Heber have been dealing with this a lot with that, and it's kind of, if you make it a conditional use, like we said, it's a permitted use with reasonable, exceptions, and that went, I believe they're still involved in some litigation with that, because obviously someone who can build a heliport or has a heliport in their yard has probably the funds to fight.
Striking this from the table of uses, though, doesn't limit if a new hospital was built and they wanted to put a heliport in.
Correct. Yeah, I actually just looked up in our definitions, and it says heliports may have or hospitals may have a heliport as an accessory use.
And that supersedes the table of uses? I always thought the table of uses superseded if there was a conflict. No?
If the code specifically says that they can do something, I think it would.
Okay.
I mean, if we want to put that into the table of uses, we can.
I don't know.
Yeah. Also, we do, in our table of uses, we do call for accessory uses incidental to an authorized use, and that's permitted across the board. So that's kind of how that falls in line.
Yeah.
We're getting rid of the ability to put in medical cannabis facilities. Feels
Not touching
short-sighted. Feels a little short-sighted.
Short-sighted.
Feels like something that today we're probably comfortable with, but we'll probably have to change that down the road.
We didn't get rid of them everywhere, just.
Liquor store is going to be permitted versus condition.
Yes, so that does have like a supplementary requirement.
Okay.
Yeah.
Unless the state code changes.
Yeah.
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 I know you're joking about cannabis, but actually going back to helipads, I'm curious in a few years if people are actually going to be regularly transported via helicopter. I don't know. We may see this come back. Or drone. Anyways, the actual real question, the real reason I spoke up is the other use that I'm seeing that's completely being removed is retail facilities and services necessary to a principal use. And maybe I'm just missing it elsewhere, but it looks like all those uses are being removed. Again, that's retail facilities and services necessary to a principal use.
I believe it's accessory to a principal use.
Zoom in.
Yeah.
I think the strikeout is.
Yeah, the strikeout makes it a little.
Yep, you're right. Accessory to a principal use, you're right.
Yeah, and I think we struck that because it was redundant with we allow accessory uses for an authorized permitted use. And so we were like, this just is redundant.
Yeah. Okay. Awesome. Love this. This is great.
This is a public hearing. If anybody from the public, Craig, would like to speak to this, we'll open. Seeing none, we will close the public hearing and bring it back for a motion or further deliberation.
Go ahead.
Okay. I will make a motion. That part was really hard. I will try to do better on the rest of this motion. On item 3.6, correct? 3.6 or is this 3.7?
3.7.
On item 3.7, public hearing and recommendation of Lehigh City's request for review of a development code amendment to both table of uses and to chapter 12 to convert conditional uses to permitted uses based on pre-existing supplementary requirements. I move that we recommend approval that the proposed development code amendment is in conformance with the purposes, intent, and provisions of the general plan and its various elements, and there are no DRC comments, but please include those anyway.
I'll second.
Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, 3.8.
Item 3.8 is public hearing and recommendation of Lehi City's request for review of a development code amendment to Chapter 12 to require the buffering and screening requirements for existing residential homes in non-residential zones. The amendment includes adding the language "an existing residential use" to the list for required buffers. Currently, the buffer requirement relates to the zoning district and not the actual use itself. This will require a buffer for residential uses instead of just the zones. Providing a buffer in the mixed-use and transit-oriented development areas may reduce walkability, so you may want to consider that. The DRC had one red line comment, which was, how do we account for meeting code requirements of creating a street wall along Main Street, State Street, etc.? This is a legislative item, and this is also a public hearing item, but there were no online comments, so turn back to the commission for any questions.
Thank you. Any questions for staff? This one is thrilling.
I would pose the same question that Kim posed. Like, how do we account for that?
Kim's like, that's right. That was a good question.
I remember the conversation.
So the DRC comment that you put, Kim, is how do we account for meeting code requirements for creating a street wall along places like Main Street and State Street?
Okay, I remember this now. So the example that we thought of was the Mind Pose Yoga Studio right north of Pioneer Market. And so if we imposed the buffering requirements, they would not have been able to put that building over to their property line. So then you'd have these gaps as you develop. So yeah, I don't know if there's a good answer to that. The city council directed us to make this code revision, but as we were thinking through it, this is maybe an unintended consequence that, you know, it would create some gaps. You know, maybe they could fill that 12 feet in later with a new portion of the building because there's a home right next to that yoga studio, and the yoga studio's wall goes right up to the property line. They're in the mixed use zone, so under the current version, you know, not taking into account this amendment, they were able to do that because they were zoned mixed use, so the buffering wasn't required. But because this would now say, even if it's zoned mixed use, if it's residential use, you still have to do the buffer. So it would just, you know, that's probably not going to have a huge impact other than some of those Main Street areas where we're trying to create more of a continual street wall. So just something to consider, and I don't know, maybe we carve out, you know, we could say except residential uses along Main Street, or, you know what I mean?
Is that something that could come to Planning Commission or City Council to make that exception?
Yeah, you could.
It sounds like it's not going to be very many instances.
So you're saying maybe we write it in there, but say unless otherwise, exception is made for properties along Main Street, or
so they have a path. If it comes up.
Would it be along Main Street or specifically the historical district?
Probably more the historical was where we're, but that could include the historic part of State Street as well. So maybe we just carve it out for the historic district because that covers both of those areas.
So Kim, would this affect, like, for example, that one over by Hutch's Furniture, that kind of hotel that was going in there because it was next to that residential?
It would, yeah. They would have had to have provided the 12-foot buffer on that west side of their project, which would not have allowed the hotel to be built.
That project died, right?
Yeah, we haven't seen anything. I don't think it's officially dead, but there's
a for sale sign.
We haven't seen any activity for a while. I think they started submitting their checkoffs, to finalize everything, and then we haven't heard for several months. Yeah. So, yeah, that's a good point. But yeah, we could create some language in there that gives at least the ability to make an exception if it's in the historic design district. The reason this came up is you remember the property over by the old police station on State Street where it used to be, and there's the vacant piece that we used to own. We've sold it, and they were trying to put in a project, and the piece, I guess, northeast of that was residential, and when it went to city council for the zone change, we actually ended up doing a development agreement that the council still required the fencing and some of the buffering requirement. They didn't want to rezone the property, so they did it by development agreement. Anyways, that's where this initiated, and they said, hey, let's fix this. We think we should still buffer, even if it's zoned not residential. If it's a residence currently, we still think we should buffer it. So that's how we drafted it. But yeah, as we got thinking when it went through DRC, we're like, oh wait, this could cause some unintended development.
It would make some of the lots along Main Street unbuildable.
Yeah, by the time you get the buffering, yeah, you're because those aren't super wide. So I think part of the reason I wasn't remembering that is because I think Mike was actually the one that picked up on this. So any of the planning staff who have comments, that all goes under my name. So I'm like, I don't remember making that, but I think it was Mike that.
Hey, just go with it.
You and Mike are
sounds,
one.
Yeah, there you go. One in spirit.
Any other questions for staff? This is a public hearing. We will open the public hearing now. Seeing none, we will close the public hearing. And I would entertain a motion or further discussion.
Could you decrease that? I mean, as part of the conditional uses, right? We could say, well, in this zone, let's decrease the use, make some, but that would be our discretion.
Yeah, again, we could craft it however we want. We could say, a reduction could be allowed and leave it kind of
for the setback. Because in some areas it would be nice to have that path. If we're going to have parking in the back, it's nice to be able to walk.
Yeah, like a pass through, like we have with. Yeah.
Over by Fakosh, there's a little path that goes through.
Yeah, or
which
even
you ought to try if you haven't
So
yet.
good.
My gosh.
The eye doctor, they have a little paseo thing.
Paseo.
Yeah. Yeah.
Can we put
There's
that
one
in?
next to the. Never mind. There's another one.
Yeah.
Side of the
There's a
street.
couple of those little alleyways.
Whatever happened to that bar that they wanted to put back over behind the boot store?
They've never resolved the spacing requirement because the Timpanogos Baptist Church is it doesn't meet the proximity requirement from a community location.
Sure.
As long as that church is there.
It's a couple of blocks.
Yeah, I think
It's
it's
within the
600
feet
feet.
footage. Yeah.
So it's like 550 from anyways, pretty close to the church.
We're diverging a little bit. I apologize. Any other questions?
No questions. I'll put forward a motion for item 3.8, with the motion being that the Planning Commission is recommending approval for this particular development code amendment, with the request that staff continue to consider the question originally posed by Mike, but then stolen by Kim, of how do we account for meeting code requirements of creating a street wall along Main Street, State Street, and similar streets.
A second.
Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? We did it. We made it to the end. City business?
We do have the planning conference coming up. It's second week in April. I know.
I'd love to
Yeah,
go.
yeah. We'll.
It's in Bryce, if that's any incentive.
You ignored my text. I get it. It's okay.
Yeah, that's actually where it'll be.
That's where everything at Bryce
Mm-hmm.
That's the only thing in Bryce.
If you're interested, I think it's like Wednesday night is more of just kind of a reception. Most of the classes will be on Thursday and then half the day Friday. It's a pretty big commitment to go down there, but yeah, we always have budget for a few. I mean, if all 7 wanted to go, that might be a little bit challenging, but that's usually not the case anyway, so we'll open it up to.
not available.
Okay.
What was the date again?
I think it's April, let me pull it up here, 8th, 9th, 10th.
I am hoping I'm not available.
Okay. I think that's spring break as
Yeah,
well.
it is spring break. Well, I'm trying to fly standby, so that's where I'm waiting on.
Yeah, you hope you're not.
Hoping.
Can we go over our meeting schedule with spring break coming up? When are we on? When are we off?
Yeah, in fact, we could probably pull it up on the website, just the yearly calendar. So yeah, because of spring break, that normally you would have a meeting on April 9th, and that is no longer the case. So we'll have is that what we list? Oh,
April
yeah.
2nd and then April 23rd.
Yep.
Cool.
So you still have a meeting the 26th, but yeah, of March.
Yeah, we have one more regular meeting this month.
Any insights to that meeting?
The 26th, I think, is similar to tonight, maybe a little smaller.
Are we finally going to see that?
You will see. It'll probably have significant public because that will be the one that the Traverse Mountain where they're proposing to move a lot of their density out of that West Canyon area down closer to the highway. And yeah, I would expect you might have the whole room full. So
there's
when
also.
Will we be over there?
Will we be in a bigger room?
Not yet. The goal, the last, I guess, target. I'd heard nothing firm, but they were trying to make it ready to have the first city council meeting, which is the 14th of April. So it'd probably be your second meeting. You know, that only regular meeting in April. The 23rd would be over there. So your next one will be here. The work session will be here. It would be that end of April.
This next meeting might be hot.
Yeah, yeah. Especially that one item.
Those are fun. You guys really haven't had one of those yet. Huh?
Dude, I've been here for a barn burner, but not a fight.
There's a couple general plan amendments too, so.
Yeah,
just
yeah.
FYI.
There's a couple general plan amendments.
Spirited discussion.
There you go. I just
Civil
remembered
discourse.
you should have put a limit.
Yep. 2-minute limit.
That's a good reminder. Help us remember and we'll use the.
1 minute limit.
Kim, we do have an update. The city, it's my understanding, received CFO of the new building today.
Okay.
Sweet. Occupancy.
But I think the plan is to move all of
The library.
in before, and
Yeah, that's more
they start having meetings there.
Yeah.
And I don't want to burst your bubbles, but I have a feeling they probably want to have a council meeting before a planning commission meeting, but I don't know.
Let's push to do it the other way.
Yeah.
Just because.
Did they already do a council meeting over there?
Allegedly.
Hey, I sat through that one. That one
All I
sucked.
heard was there was some back door in the middle of the night.
Oh, that's
It was a temporary certificate of occupancy. Well, temporary occupancy. Okay, that's all I have.
Motion to adjourn.
Oh, pause. Before we do that, this has been, I'm a broken record because I keep coming back to this. I'm thinking about when item 3.5, and you may tell me that we can't talk about this because we've already voted on it, but for item 3.5, I feel like city council is going to have the same question, like, are these in lieu of appropriations? Are they worth what we're getting back?
The difference, may I? Sorry.
Yep, please.
The difference is the city council has the ability to go into a closed door meeting to go over the finances. We don't. And they don't want to make the finances public.
So they
Because
do
of
have
what-
the finances, though.
Or do it.
They could get the, I'm not saying they do, but I'm saying city council has a mechanism to take, be part of the meeting behind closed doors where other things could be discussed. I'm not saying they will or would, but potentially could be discussed. Is that correct, Greg?
Yes, I mean, there's very strict guidelines on when you can go into a closed meeting. It all depends if it's regarding the purchase of property, you know, talking about an employee's, you know, or a council member's, you know, personnel file type stuff, or, you know, ongoing or potential litigation. The nice thing about council, though, is with Gary, you know, Lauren's there, you know, Brad's there, as well as if they needed to, they could, you know, work through and potentially get a development agreement or recommend a development agreement. Yes, they do have different levers they can pull. But, I mean, ultimately, though, when it comes to the in lieu determination, you know, that's a policy decision with whether or not you think it is, you know, from the information you have, if you think that it's a benefit for the city and based on the specific facts, as long as you can articulate that, you know, that's the biggest key.
Is a motion that contains an if appropriate? Meaning a motion that said something along the lines of, if the council agrees that the finances line up or whatever, however you word that.
Well, I mean, ultimately, you're the recommending body, right? So
They can take a lead.
I would prefer it be, you know, we're okay with this, but we recommend that the city council take a hard look at X, Y, and Z. Because they watch these meetings and they go through all the notes.
So, in the future, as more in lieu items come up, is it safe for me to assume that if an in lieu item is being put in front of us, then city staff are comfortable with the trade-offs that are being provided by the developer?
Yeah, that's true, yeah. That's not something we take lightly. We look at that really hard and fast, and we've told people they can't, I mean, they want 3 lots, and we say, you only can qualify for 1, that's all we can justify. And so we try to be fair with the developers.
That's a fair question on your part, because that's your guys' job, right?
Yeah, no, it
And to
is.
ask those hard questions, and if we have the answers, we have them. You know what I mean? And, I mean, I've been in meetings before where Kim said they're asking for these exceptions. Well, are you comfortable with this? Well, when they came to us, we said this many, but they wanted it to go forward with this many. So, yeah. Sorry.
I mean, back in the
Kim
day-
or Mike or one of the one in spirit.
Back in the day, our packets used to have an actual recommendation from the staff. They don't anymore. It's just neutral, like it says positive or negative. They used to come to us saying, staff recommends negative, or staff recommends a positive, or moving forward, or whatever. They don't do that anymore, and I miss it to some degree, but I also understand why that change was made.
Well, I'm taking that to mean that staff are now withholding those applications, or they're massaging them until they actually do feel comfortable with them until providing them to us. So moving forward, I'm now looking at all in lieu applications as being city staff is comfortable with these.
I don't think so. I think I think the applicant can push it forward, even if they're saying that's not a good idea, right?
I think your responsibility would be to ask.
Or maybe in the staff report, if we're not comfortable, we should be letting you know, like, hey, this is way out of line for what we feel like is justifiable.
Kind of like that development out in Willow Park, right? Where
Yeah.
they could have 18 houses or whatever it was, and they asked for 600 or whatever it was, right?
That was 18 versus 219 or something. Yeah. Yeah.
And again, I know that was not an in lieu. That was just an ask, but still.
If I had to summarize, I would say, I think Lauren, engineering, you know, they're not comfortable because of some of the sensitive information about property values and prices of what developers have paid for land. So it's difficult to put in like an actual and to be, you know, to the dollar amount, because the other part of it is, I think it is a little bit, I don't know, fuzzy math, if you want to call it, or a little bit of discretion, like, well, you know, but they do put in, like, okay, either we get a value from the developer for what they paid, or, like Gary said in the work session, they'll just take some comps from the area, and they'll say, okay, you're giving us X acres for road dedication, that equates to X dollars for the value based, you know, for this area, and a lot roughly equals, I don't know if they have a value, 50,000 per lot, or so I think they're doing some of the actual, comparison. It's not just totally like, oh, that seems about like this. They're trying to do some math, but it's not an exact science.
Well,
And so it's hard
we have
to.
some kind of a cost basis as well, right? We know how much it costs them to put a certain amount of feet of trail.
Yeah, now
We
the
know how
trails
much-
are a little more definitive, asphalt per square foot or whatever, linear foot or.
Yeah, that's true. We go through and we actually add it all up. How many square feet of asphalt and sub-base and base and trail and all those amenities and stuff that they will be putting in. And we actually add all those up from our current contractor pricing. So we actually get a pretty good value on that. I mean, it can fluctuate a little bit too. And then we look at their land values is really kind of what we base that off of. We deduct that a little bit because of the development factor is what we call it, because it costs a lot of money to develop these properties. So we give them a little bit of an advantage that way. Then we divide one cost into the other, and it gives a total acreage of lots. And then knowing how many units per acre, then that gives how many lots we can come up with. And it is a little bit fuzzy, I guess, mostly in the development factor, because that's a little bit.
The land cost.
Yeah, and the land cost. Yeah, we usually try to get the land cost, although developers are becoming more and more hesitant to give us those values, so it's becoming a bigger challenge.
And if it is, let's say in their calculations it comes up to, this would qualify for 2.7 lots. A lot of times they'll just say we're going to round up to 3 because it does put a little bit of burden on the developer to put those extra improvements in. Their contractor does the work. Anyways, is that a fair
No,
statement?
I think that's a fair statement, yeah. If it's, 2.2, then we would round down,
But we don't go 2.7 around to 5,
Right.
No.
Yeah.
Unless.
It's a rough proportionality thing, so.
Would we be putting any of you in an uncomfortable situation to ask you in front of a developer if you feel okay with it and you would say no? Or
I would. No, I'd feel
You'd
comfortable.
be
You would
okay
feel
to do that,
comfortable.
yeah.
Okay,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah. Put us on the spot. and we'll-
He spoke up when it was in favor of.
Yeah, like tonight with
Tony
the 10.
tonight.
Yeah, Gary, you swayed me that way. I like that. That was fair. And the nice part is we're going to get money from UDOT, so that was fair too. So.
Yeah. Well, in fact, we had a developer come through, quite a while ago, and they wanted 3 lots. I think we gave them 2. I think it was 2. Anyway,
Was that on the one on 1500 North,
yeah.
the Fox
But they just
Trail?
kept pushing and pushing and pushing, and I'm like, no, it doesn't qualify for that. So I would for sure
But
tell
they
you.
do have a right to come to
They do.
the planning commission, even if they don't agree. So if there is one like that, maybe you can get a sign or something.
I feel like in that scenario, we usually at least leave like a DRC comment or
Yeah,
something.
we should be noting that in our DRC comments.
Yeah.
That would probably be the best opportunity, so you have advance heads up as you're reading the packet. Oh, Gary and DRC said this. We don't really see a justifiable
Well,
reason.
I think even in that one, I did say, city engineering says, we're only comfortable with 2 lots on this.
Yeah.
And you do that. It's just, I guess the hard part is just kind of deciphering through all of that. So.
Yeah.
But no, I think it's a fair question to ask in planning commission, though, for sure.
Awesome. Okay, thank you.
Might get some dirty looks, but. We'll talk about that later.
Closed door session.
We got to bear our political cellulite. Yeah.
Now motion?
Yes, motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right.
You gotta bang the gavel. at least.
No. So this
That-
gavel